So I once again did the ill-advised and watched through all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and then all 3 Hobbit movies, and then to top that off, I even watched the Rings of Power. Which, side note, I will actually be recording a Rings of Power review right after this video, so if you aren't Lord of the Rings out by the end of this, there will be more content, so look forward to that. So to say I was on a little bit of a Tolkien kick might be underselling it a little bit, but as I was doing all this, I realized that it's been a while since I made any sort of like Lord of the Rings or Tolkien content, so today I wanted to follow up my 10 things you might not know about Lord of the Rings / Middle Earth video that I did a while back, while wearing the same outfit, apparently. And I wanted to follow that up by talking about one of my favorite characters who, by all rights, should have been in the Lord of the Rings movies, but just wasn't. So for the people who have always asked, you know, who my favorite character is, usually my answer is obviously Sam, but then the second answer that I usually give is Faramir. Just because I love his arc that they have in the movies. But the actual, like, favorite character from the whole of the Tolkien, like, anthology is a character named Glorfindel. Or some people call him Glorfindel. I've heard conflicting results based on how it is in actual Sindarin, but whatever. Glorfindel, tomato, let's move on. So, who is Glorfindel, and why should he have been in the Lord of the Rings movies? Well, first off, he actually technically was in the Lord of the Rings movies. He was one of the elves that is sitting on the Council of Elrond when they're gathering the Fellowship for the first time. He's like one of those kind of random elves that's just sitting off to the side, you know, not talking to anyone or not saying anything. And he is one of, if not the most powerful elf in all of Middle-earth. So the logical next question might be, okay, well, if he's so powerful, why didn't he accompany Frodo and the rest of them when they were taking out on this quest? Interestingly, the reason is because his power level is actually too high, where if he steps foot outside of the Valley of Imladris or Rivendell, he basically will set a beacon off that's just like, hey, all bad guys, here I am. Hey, everyone, here's the ring! Like, Sauron and the rest of the Nazgul are obviously alerted to the presence of the ring, like whenever Frodo is putting the ring on, but just having Glorfindel in the party would have done the same thing, but just all the time. So Frodo and the rest of the Nazgul and practically all the armies of Middle-earth would have just been able to see them the entire time. Which, you know, obviously not too helpful if the whole quest for the ring is to be secretive. And even though Glorfindel is seriously one of the coolest and most heroic characters in all of Tolkien's work, if he were to have joined the Fellowship of the Ring, likely corruption from the ring would have been a factor for him as well. And you gotta think, like, if practically one of the most powerful beings in the world is starting to feel a little bit corrupted by the ring, no one around him would have been able to stop him. And actually on that point, not about Glorfindel, but Gandalf, in the movies, when Frodo is trying to give Gandalf the ring at the beginning of Fellowship, Gandalf says,
"Don't tempt me, Frodo. I will use this ring from a desire to do good, but through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine."
And this is sort of Gandalf, like, you know, flexing a little bit, being like, dude, I'm hella powerful, but it's true. It's like he is. And so you got to imagine if Glorfindel is essentially, you know, in the same realm of power as Gandalf, I mean, goddamn, both of them or either one of them using the ring would have been disastrous. So basically what I'm trying to say is like, all right, we already have one bomb on the team with Gandalf. Like, if Gandalf got the ring, it would all be fucking over. But if you had 2, your chances of success then just become astronomical. But enough about Glorfindel from what we can see of him in the movies. What's very interesting about him is his character all throughout the Silmarillion and the backstory of Glorfindel. So what makes him so powerful? Well, Glorfindel was born in Valinor, as most elves from the early days were, and eventually found his way to Middle-earth during the creation of Gondolin, which is the hidden elvish city where most of, like, the important weapons of the elves were crafted. You know, Gandalf's sword Glamdring, the foe hammer, was crafted there. Thorin's sword Orcrist, the goblin cleaver, was also made there. And Frodo and Bilbo's sword Sting, which unfortunately I don't have. I also, half of that was just, I really wanted to show off that I had those swords. But yes, all of those most important weapons were forged in Gondolin. So Glorfindel was hanging out in Gondolin during the war against Morgoth, who, if you don't know, I talked more about in my other Lord of the Rings video, but is basically Satan to this world's god named Eru Ilúvatar. I said that weird. Iluvatar, there we go. So Morgoth eventually finds the hidden city of Gondolin and unleashed basically every baddie that he has to destroy it. So dragons, fell beasts, orcs, balrogs, yes, plural. Balrogs, as in more than one of the thing that almost killed Gandalf. Well, you know, technically did kill Gandalf, but you know what I mean. So as the city was about to be destroyed, Glorfindel and many of his kin escaped into the mountains to the north, but were eventually stopped by a Balrog. Glorfindel, being a heroic lad, then told the others to go on ahead and that he's got this. So the others leave, and interestingly, two of the people that he ended up saving that day were the grandparents of Elrond. Yes, the same Elrond that eventually is like the leader of Rivendell. And I don't know / remember if he also had saved Elros, who was Elrond's twin brother, who eventually founds Numenor. Don't know if he actually was saved from this as well, but the point stands is that without Glorfindel, shit would have been real bad. Now you probably might be like, okay, well, so there was this single freaking elf who's not even a Maiar staring down this Balrog. I mean, clearly that doesn't sound too good. But also, as I stated earlier, for some reason Glorfindel is just OP as hell, so when he said, I got this, and, you know, most of the other of his kin were like, my dog, that's a Balrog, are you sure? Because I don't think you got this. He did got this. So Glorfindel is staring down this Balrog, and similarly to Gandalf's battle, it was very arduous, it was a terrible fight, and also similarly to Gandalf's fight with the Balrog, claimed his life. And since he's not a Maiar like Gandalf is, he didn't just level up when he, you know, was killed by this Balrog, he just fucking died. However, his sacrifice, and because his actions saved so many people, he was once again granted the gift of life after he died. Where also, similarly to Gandalf, he just got more powerful. So whatever kind of thought you have in your mind of how strong Glorfindel was as he was fighting this Balrog, he only got better after the fact. In fact, I went on a huge tangent in my other video about how much I love the Witch King of Angmar just because of like how nasty powerful he was during his rule. You know, basically single-handedly wiping out the kingdom of Arnor and wiping out most Numenorians. Well, there was one person that the Witch King feared, and that was Glorfindel. Like, the Witch King, after winning a battle, once saw Glorfindel coming after him and just decided to run back to Angmar in fear. Like, just think about that for a second. You just won a battle, you're like, fuck yeah, all right, we just destroyed all these humans, woohoo! And then you look across the way, you know, you're like high-fiving all your troops that you just led into victory, and then all of a sudden, you see one dude coming towards you on a horse, and you're like, yeah, guys, we gotta go, actually. We should really get out of here. And upon seeing this, the last humans that were alive during this battle were like, oh my god, dog, we gotta go chase after him. If he's afraid of you, Glorfindel, we gotta go get him. To which Glorfindel stopped all the overly excited men and said no, saying, quote, far off yet is his doom, and not by the hand of man will he fall. So Glorfindel is literally the person that prophesied that the Witch King of Angmar would not die by a man's hand, which we know to be true when Eowyn stabs his bitch ass during the battle of Minas Tirith in the Pelennor Fields. And it's obviously not just the Witch King that fears him, but rather all of the ring wraiths, which is why he was actually the one sent by Elrond to go find Frodo when he was stabbed on Weathertop, and not Arwen, because literally no ring wraith would dare fuck with him. So it was actually he that unleashed the River Brunnen on all of the wraiths as well, and not Arwen. However, in the defense of Peter Jackson and the Lord of the Rings movies, there obviously are a lot of changes from the book. The biggest egregious one, not including Glorfindel, oh my god, what are you doing? But there are a lot of differences that he decided to, you know, not have in his movies, and I think that most of them I'm actually okay with. I think that, you know, for example, the biggest one for me is that Aragorn in the books is like, fuck yeah, dude, sign me up. I am ready to be king. He's singing the Lion King song, and I just can't wait to be king. And I loved the change in the movies that he was reluctant to become king because we needed to bond with his character a little bit more and understand his humility with being Isildur's heir. I thought that was a really great inclusion. And I liked that you do care for Arwen and that she's the one that's like comes and saves Frodo. I don't know, all of the changes I absolutely love. I just think now that you know a little bit more about Glorfindel, if you had never known about this character, you're probably like me, where you're like, god damn, that would have been really cool to see. At least maybe one battle where Glorfindel's just like ripping through dudes, that would have been cool. It's sort of like You know, like, I wish in the Hobbit movies that we had more Beorn, because I think there was like one scene where he's like killing dudes, and I was like, oh, that would have been cool to see. Out of like, you know, you take the Hobbit fucking book, which is like this big, and you decide to make it into this many movies and shit, but you don't include a bear ripping into a bunch of dudes. Just missed opportunity, Peter. What are you doing? Anyways, so that's going to do it for this random video, just talking about Glorfindel. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about him, and also like if there's any other deep dives that you want me to do, whether that's about a specific thing of Tolkien lore, or if you want me to dive deep into other lore that I'm excited about. We can fucking do Game of Thrones, whatever. I don't know. I just wanted to make this. I'm sure no one will watch it, but I just wanted to do it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So I'll see you next time. Fair winds, guys.